So, getting into it, a Carson Wentz. Let's just get into it. It's the most talked about thing with Philly sports the last couple of weeks, and you heard a little bit of everything. The Jalen Hurts is killing his confidence. That ever since Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, he hasn't been the same person. Ever since the injury history, he hasn't been the same person. He doesn't take well to coaching. He hasn't been the same since DeFlippio and Frank Wright. He doesn't allow people to coach him. So many different things, so many different reasons. Everyone has a reason why he has not looked like himself. But I don't care about any of those things. The only opinions I care about is that of the coaches and that of the coaches and that of other quarterbacks who have played the position before. And the reason I don't really care to hear all the talking heads, because if you haven't played the position before, you can't really be a critic and really talk to it. Yes, there are people who can dissect plays and read defenses and see all the mistakes he's making, but a lot of people haven't played the position. A lot of people haven't coached the position. So I'm really looking for those aspects. And because I don't have access to any of those, I have to listen to people who know what they're talking about. Regardless of whether or not Carson had regressed or what the issue really is, Doug Peterson is not going to put that out there for us, everybody in the media, to know, so that we can harp on it, dissect it, and all of that. So he's not even a good source to go to for this. So what I will say is JT Sullivan, if I said that correct, he's an older quarterback who does the quarterback show on YouTube, and Dan Orlovsky. I probably jacked up both of their names, but the reason that I look at what they're doing and look at what they're saying, it looks like these things are correctable. They're not down on the quarterback. They're giving an unbiased view. Maybe Dan's view is not as unbiased because he's a Carson Wentz fan, but they both gave their opinions on what's going on, and I believe they gave their opinions about his situation without having a bias in that particular session. So it seems to be mechanics. It's all mechanics. It's the drop backs, how many steps he's taken back, how wide his base is, how he's delivering the football, whether he's delivering it early, whether he's delivering it late, whether or not he's doing touch passes correctly, whether or not he's doing bullet passes correctly, whether or not he's doing lobs. All of these things are playing into his mechanics. He has amazing arm strength, and with that amazing arm strength comes a really lazy and lackadaisical view of mechanics. Now, this is the thing that kills me the most with these gifted passers, these gifted athletes, these gifted guys. What kills me and what I do not understand is, yes, you're incredibly gifted. Okay, you're incredibly gifted. You have these natural abilities, but if you fall in love with the coaching aspect, you fall in love with the mechanics, you fall in love with mastering the craft of your game, there is a possibility that along with that gifted, that whether you believe in God-given gift, or that naturally born talent, whatever you want to call it, it only serves to make it better. You can, those gifts only get better when you use mechanics coaching, when you take the drop backs, when you do things correctly, when your base is the correct way, when you follow through with your arm the right way, when your body turns into the throw the correct way, and all of those different nuances and everything. But the problem is, a lot of the guys who are naturally gifted or God-given gifted, whatever you believe, again, those guys, I don't know whether you call it lackadaisical, lazy. I don't know if you call it just because they've been playing without having to hone their craft and do it to a certain way, because they've been getting away with being able to do it without the proper mechanics all this time, if it's just muscle memory to do it without that. And all of that's perfect and all of that's fine when you are hitting and you have very little misses. But when your receiving core is down to its skeleton cast, when you're losing games, you haven't won a game yet, when all of your throws are off or missing, and the gimmies or when the gimmies aren't there, and you're only able to show us glimpses and flashes of the guy you used to be, then there's clearly a problem, clearly an issue, and clearly something needs to be done and something needs to be fixed. And the two things that both Dan and JT said was that these things are correctable and that these things are mechanics. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I think JT Sullivan does the quarterback shows. They're on YouTube. You can find it. I believe it's called Carson being Carson. Go ahead and give us some views. And Dan, he's just been defending Carson left and right, but it's looking like he's pointing at the inaccuracies, and the inaccuracies are due to mechanics. So if everything is pointing to mechanics, then you would expect him to be out there getting smoother and more crisp with his mechanics. But I think the real problem is muscle memory. Like I said, because you have these gifts and you're a talented passer, and you've just been able to rely on your arm to save you even when you're not able to get your feet right and not able to drop back and take a step and all of that. When things were good, all of those things were working perfectly for you and you were able to do what you do. The problem is now things are not good, and his muscle memory are horrible habits. So how do you break those horrible habits? How do you get that together? And does he have the right people around him to break those habits? D Flip was said to be hard on him and dug in his butt when he made these mistakes. He would chew him out, just tear him to pieces, and make sure he came out there crisp and having everything together. D Flip is 2 years removed from the team now. Frank Wright is 2 years removed from the team now. And the last 2 years, you've had, I believe, Grow and then Press Taylor as your quarterback coaches. Grow is gone and fired, and Press seems to be his buddy. So, one, do you have the right people around you? Two, are you putting time and energy into those mechanics and not just depending on your natural gifts? I think that if someone can get in his ear, and I don't care how they do it, send somebody in there with a lieutenant, a colonel mentality to go in there and get him back in 2017 for him. I don't know how his mechanics looked in 2017. I haven't gone back and looked at it, but whatever, it was working back then. Now things are not working, so you may have to depend on something that you may not have depended on this whole entire time in order to get things back right. When JT was showing some different things, you could see that his drop back, like let's say if it was a three-step, and then let it rip, it was more like 2 steps, and that second step was more like a gallop, and then throwing the ball. And those bad or average mechanics seem to have put the ball too high, too low, off the receiver by a couple of yards here and there, whether it's off to the sides or above in the air, a yard or two too high. And those all seem like mechanical things. And if those are mechanical things, they can be fixed by fixing and working on your mechanics, making that your craft, making that your bread and butter. And we have seen him the last couple of games out there, I guess, trying to work on it. But as I said earlier, the bigger thing is, do you have someone who actually knows how to teach you it right? Because we can practice the wrong thing all day, everything. You could be someone who wants to hone the craft, but if you're not practicing it correctly, you're not going to perform it correctly. That's my 2 cents on Carson Wentz.